Lars, hi.
Hello.
Good to see you in Vienna. Welcome.
Thank you.
And I understand it's definitely not the first time that you're playing in Vienna. You're a regular
Yeah,
guest.
I've played there a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Actually, all Porgy and Bess.
All Porgy and
Yeah,
Bess,
I never
really?
played anywhere else.
Okay. How do you like the stage there?
It's cool. I like it. It's a great club.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds really nice.
You've brought with you a new album, Asian
Yeah,
Twistz.
correct.
Can you talk about that and
Yeah,
who is
well,
on it?
Well, it's I had a tour in Asia in the end of the summer of 2014 with Dave Weckl and Etienne Mbappe, bass player, drummer at Weckl. And when we got back to New York, not to New York, home. My home is New York. The guy from my record company asked me if we recorded anything, and I told him I don't know. And I called Dave. Dave's got this pretty elaborate setup, like digital mixer and monitor and stuff. So a lot of times he'll record the shows just for reference into Pro Tools, but record for real, you know? So he recorded a few of the shows, and we had like about 3 shows that were sounding pretty good. Like the performances were great, so we made a record out of it.
Excellent.
Because the record company wanted like a live album, and it's actually great. I'm really proud of it. You know, it's like really good performance and really good, you know, capturing of that band. Like it was kind of towards the end of the tour, so we were all really going for it.
Yeah.
And the sound, like Dave mixed it, it sounds really good. And it was done with nothing really. It was just with whatever the club had. It was not even planned, you know. So it's really cool. I'm really proud of to have it out.
Excellent. And I understand Etienne is, who played on the record, is also with you on the current tour.
Yes. Yeah, we're in Europe now for about 2 weeks. So it's me and Etienne and Gary Novak playing drums.
Do you practice while you're on tour?
I don't.
You don't? Is there warm-up routine or sound check?
I don't warm up.
No?
I do short sound checks and I just play the
Okay.
gig. You know, if I'm in the dressing room and I have the guitar, then of course. But a lot of times it's just like you don't have time to practice because you're traveling, and then if you're in the hotel, you know, if I have a day off, then I'll definitely, I don't know if I'll practice, but I'll definitely noodle on the guitar, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't practice when I'm on tour.
Is there something for where you think you as a musician, there's something where I want to improve?
Oh, there's a lot of things that I want to improve.
What would you say if for beginning musicians, what are sort of the areas that most neglected areas that people?
I think for guitar players, it's the most neglected area for guitar players is rhythm. And I'm not talking about complicated rhythm. I'm talking about just rhythm in general, like pocket, you know, because pocket is your rhythm. And guitar players, for good reason, go to the fancy stuff first, which is fun, you know, all the shredding and the fancy stuff. It's cool, well, you know, I've done it also. But if you don't have good time, nothing's going to sound good. And you know, when you're a drummer and a bass player, you deal with rhythm all the time. When you're a guitar player, you kind of don't have to in the beginning. So, but you do have to, because if you don't, then you can't really play. Plus, if you have really good rhythm, everybody will want to play with you, because it kind of everybody go like, oh, it feels so good when he plays. You know what I mean? Mm. Or he's got such a groove, or he's swinging hard, or so rhythm is definitely like it's not a problem, it's just like it's something that guitar players don't pay much attention to. And it's not only rhythm in your playing, like the way you phrase things or being in time with a metronome, it's also rhythm guitar. Like to be aware of rhythm guitar, it's kind of cool, you know. So, but in general, you know, rhythm in your playing, whether it's like playing with a metronome or playing rhythmically within your playing, it doesn't matter what style you're playing. It's just like you have to be in time, otherwise.
So presumably playing with a metronome would also be...
Playing with a metronome is the key. And then playing with good musicians that have good rhythm will help also.
How much of your playing, in solo playing, for instance, is in time, and do you then spontaneously or consciously decide to go out of time and then go back? How does
I don't
that
go
work
out
for
of time. It's like, it's more, you have to have control over time. Like you have to be able to play in time, first of all. And then you have to be able to, if you want, stretch the time a little bit, meaning you can play a little behind or a little on top, which is kind of weird. Like it's usually more behind. Like I play sometimes, there's certain things I like to do and I like to play behind. But it has a cool effect. But I do it on purpose. I don't do it, I know that I'm doing it, you know what I mean? It's a real drag if somebody doesn't know he's doing it, it's playing behind a beat. It's like dragging a horse or something, you know what I mean? It's hard.
Well, so and talking about time, which that also raises the question. I mean, you're the master of using loopers. How difficult did you find that to integrate that sort of looping into your own playing, live particularly?
Yeah. Well, what I did is I started doing loops like a long time ago, and when that green Line 6 pedal came out, that Line 6, the DL4, and I basically did it more for sound. You know, it wasn't like, I wasn't trying to create another rhythmical part because you can't sync it. So I was doing it more in the beginning to create some kind of more sonic sounds, you know what I mean? And then as I started to write more music, I came up with more ideas of how I can use the looper, you know? So what happened is, at some point it turned into be like a rhythmical thing for me also. The thing to understand with that is, and it's still today, whatever I'm looping is always in real time, and it's never exactly the same. So if I loop something, there's a 50-50 chance that it will be in time or it won't be in time. But the stuff that I'm looping things that even if they're not in time, it can create some kind of weird thing.
Yeah, but how does that interact with the drummer and the rest of the band?
Well, because it's not like a rhythm guitar part that needs to be in time with the drummer. It's like a rhythm part that will kind of create something, you know what I mean?
But what I don't understand is then the drummer adjusting to your loop?
No. The drummer doesn't just do anything. I just do loops as I play. We're talking about, if it's just like textural loops, like sounds, then it doesn't matter. It just like kind of rolls. But if it's real rhythmical stuff, then I'm never going to do something that will have to be just locked with a drummer exactly. Because I did it sometimes, but there's 50-50 chance that's not going to sit right, you know? So I do stuff that's rhythmical, but it's rhythmical where even if it doesn't sit or it kind of moves around, it still has a rhythmical effect. And it's kind of cool. That's what's cool about all this live looping, because I never prepare loops. It's always on the spot. So sometimes it kind of can suck and sometimes could be great. But even the ones that don't turn out the way you want them to, sometimes if you just get your head out of it and listen to it again, you go like, oh, that's kind of weird, you know? And a lot of stuff happened to me from mistakes, you know what I mean? Like a lot of things like the looping things happen by mistakes on gigs. Like I hit the wrong button or something went off and then it triggered something. I was like, oh wow, that's so cool, you know. That happened a lot. Actually, that thing that I do with the tremolo, that rhythmical thing, that was a mistake that happened in Japan.
I love that effect. I mean,
yeah, that happened in Japan. I was on tour in Japan, my first tour in Japan, and a friend of mine played me a track that he did with somebody that had this kind of chopped. So I was like, wow, I kind of want to have that kind of sound. And I found pedals that do it, so I had that, but the actual rhythmical thing that I do and the tremolo does like the rrr, is I had the tremolo set up a certain way, and then I hit with my foot in the middle of the show. I probably hit the time thing, like the time button, all the way up, and the depth button. And I remember playing the thing and hitting it, and I was like, oh, whoa. But then, because you can't stop in the middle and fix it, then I got into it, and then it turned out, this mistake turned into be like a kind of cool thing to do. So a couple of things happened like that. you know.
And you never looked back, you know. I mean,
Well, I look back, but
no, it's a great effect, and one of my favorites that you're using actually, and it's you deserve all the credit for
yeah.
introducing
No,
that.
so there's a few things like that that happened that after, but in order for it to happen, you have to play live a lot, and you have to really do a lot of stuff right there live, you know, where if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, then you have to live with it, kind of, you know.
What are the challenges for you when playing live nowadays?
Well, it's always a challenge. You know, the main challenge of playing live is when I play in New York, I play at the same club for like every week, almost every week for, I don't know, now it's since 2002, so it's like 13 years.
13 years, yeah.
So I know the sound of that room so well, so I know where my amp stands, I know exactly what knob to, you know, so it's tweaked to my ears so much that it's so comfortable for me to play there and get my sound. So the biggest challenge of playing live in any rooms that you don't play regularly is the sound, because it just reacts differently. And that's one challenge. The other challenge is when you're on tour, 90% of the time you don't play your own amps. So that's pretty much the biggest challenge of all.
Mm.
Because for guitar, it's really hard. Mm. But I don't know, I just get into it. I ask for certain amps. I usually don't get them. No, I usually get, like, you know, some of what I want and some, but you just deal with it, you know what I mean? And surprisingly, some things, well, you go like, wow, you know, it's okay. And some things
for future club owners, what would be an amp they would have to? Well,
I can't have my, I use either old Marshall, I use Tool Rock amps. That's what I really use. You can't, you know, but I either ask for Vox AC30s, but not Chinese ones, the English ones, the nice ones, you know, and they're very hard to find now. So either that or old ones are the great. Or like Blues DeVille's, I like the Fender Blues DeVille's, but every time you say Fender, they bring you those twin reverbs, and they're horrible. They're like the worst amps ever made. Those black-faced twin reverbs that were made for many, many years, so everybody's got them. And you know, so you know, the tour in Asia was recorded with 2 Chinese Vox AC30s, and they were not good amps. But somehow, you know, it ended up sounding fine.
Well, it's in your fingers.
It's not. It's really, you know, yes and no, because there's only so much you can do. At some point, if the amp sounds a certain way, your fingers can't fix it. You know what I mean?
You brought with you your guitar.
Yeah.
Can you introduce us a bit to your instrument?
Yeah. Well, what do you?
Looks like it has taken a good beating over the years.
Well, it's relic to begin with. You know what I mean? But it's been with me for a bunch of years, so it's relic more. It's just a '68 custom shop relic that they made for me. I pretty much told them what I wanted, and they didn't. They did it really well. So it's just, you know, the big headstock. I have it's the Darius strings, pretty thick strings. It's like a set of 11s,
okay,
and a 12 on the top.
A 12 on the top, okay.
And the frets are big. And this is the pickups from the, you know, the Fender 69 custom shop. So it's pretty much, this is a different pickup that Lindy Frelin, it's a Fender pickup. I don't know what it is, kind of an enigma, but Lindy Frelin overwound it. That's it. But that's really all it is. Everything else, it's just, you know, older body and rosewood neck, that's it.
Which positions do you use most?
All of it.
All of it. Okay.
Well, you know, I would mostly play on the bridge for a lot of the stuff, but you know, for more, like the more bluesy stuff, I use all of them, all of the positions. I use the middle a lot, but you know, for a lot of the stuff, it's the bridge. So my bridge has to be kind of fatter sounding.
Do you have a replacement guitar with you, a second one? Or?
No.
Oh, okay.
You can't really travel with more than one instrument. I was thinking of actually bringing, because I didn't have a lot of flights this tour, I was thinking of bringing my telly also, but it's not worth it. It's too much of a hassle, you know. It's not, and I usually don't break strings because I play loud enough that I don't have to hit hard. And again, it's heavy strings. But it doesn't really matter how heavy they are; they can break. It's
Then my next question is: have you seen Whiplash?
yes, it's the worst freaking movie.
What do you think about that movie?
I hated it. It's freaking retarded.
What?
I hated it. And a lot of my musician friends hated it because it's completely unrealistic. It's completely unrealistic. I understand what they were trying to say, but it was so unrealistic. It was like embarrassingly unrealistic. I couldn't take it. I was just sorry.
Which raises the question: I mean, for someone, a young musician,
a young musician shouldn't see this movie because it's completely unrealistic.
So, what would be a realistic depiction of what life for a musician is nowadays?
Well, you have to work hard on your craft. Like, you have to practice, but you don't have this kind of abusive. If you ever have an abusive teacher, just leave. That doesn't happen. There's teachers that are rough, but not like what's in the movie was like completely unrealistic. Plus, musically, it was non-musical also. Like, nobody says like, I don't know, they're all sort of really stupid comments. They're like 6, 7, 8, or you're Russian, you're drinking. It's just not, you know. Well, you just, you know, if you're starting, you just have to practice, you know, be serious with it and love what you do also. And, you know, when you have teachers, just listen to your teachers because most chances they know better than you do. You know what I mean?
Well, on that note, thank you so much, Ross. It's been a pleasure.
Excellent.
Great. All the best for the show tonight.
Thank you very much.
Looking forward.